Welcome to We Are Old, Get Over It, the podcast for active senior living and getting the most out of life. I'm your host, Ken Gluckman. During our summer break, we share highlights of some of our favorite conversations from the past year. These are just short clips from the full-length episodes. You can find the link to the original episodes in the show notes here, or just search the episode title on our YouTube channel or in your preferred podcast app. Help us share this useful and informative information by inviting your family and friends to visit our podcast. Share a clip or an episode with them, and it will give you something to talk about. And now, let's laugh and learn for the week. What's the cost comparison nowadays between burials and cremation?
Right now, the national average for the cost of a burial is between $15,000 and $20,000. But it can definitely be more than that, depending on where you pass. If you are wanting your body to be traditionally buried, your body has to be shipped from wherever you pass to wherever your cemetery is at. So that can add on more cost. The type of casket. Also, if there's no cemetery property, because you do have to have some place to put the body. So if you have not got any cemetery property, that has to be purchased as well. So it can definitely be a lot more than that. And your monument.
Okay, and what would be the cost right now for cremations?
So our direct cremation package is about $2,800. So you can see there's a huge difference in price between the cremation and the national average for burial.
Yes, I see that. Definitely. Okay. What else do you want to mention to people about the types of burials that they would go through? How is that handled when you're burying someone?
When you're burying someone, there's a lot more involvement when it comes to the family. They have to decide whether they're going to have a visitation, if they're going to have any services. Also, if they're going to be having any funeral services, then you guys schedule with the cemetery opening and closing. With the cemetery schedule, the placement at the cemetery as well. So there's a lot more involvement when it comes to burials. But just like cremation, burials, we can personalize them, for the family, because you want to remember your loved one, and this is the final time you're going to be seeing your loved one. So we want to make that special for every family.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the legacies of people. There's nothing right or wrong of how your final remains are taken care of. It's really your choice. And it really makes it easier for your loved ones when you've made those decisions in advance, not even bringing into consideration the costs that are involved, especially the emotional costs and the financial costs when somebody else in your family has to decide. How do you handle that?
Well, one thing with we, as a funeral director, when I'm meeting families, I try to get to know the family, want to see what their wishes and needs are. One thing with our company, we try to accommodate every family we can, regardless of their budget. We do offer veterans discounts as well for our veterans that serve. That's one thing we do as well for our veterans. We schedule military honors. We provide a flag for the family for their time in the service. We get a presidential memorial certificate for the family. But one thing we do, we try to listen to the needs of all of our families.
Okay. And Lacey, give me some more information about what you do for the company.
Yes, so I actually help families prearrange ahead of time to make it easier for their family, where they take care of all their wishes. And we do talk about different options regarding the cremation. And so we do have options where we have direct cremations, which means that there are no services that families wish to have. We have options where we do have private brief viewings for families. Some families need closure, especially if families right now, everyone lives out of the area. So sometimes families need to say goodbye to their loved one before the cremation takes place. So we have those options as well. But we also have options of scattering their loved one's cremated remains. So we can scatter in the Gulf. We can scatter in the Pacific, Atlantic Oceans, or the Rocky Mountain National Forest. So I have a lot of families that say, oh, I love the Rocky Mountains, or we live down here off the Gulf, and that would really mean something to us. So we can actually do whatever is important to someone else. Now, with a direct cremation, sometimes families may want their loved one placed into a cemetery property that they already have, and we'll assist with that. We can send cremated remains directly to the cemetery, or family can travel with them. We provide all of the documents that are necessary for them to do that. But some people, they do want to keep the cremated remains for a certain amount of time. I can't tell you how many families talk about that's a benefit of cremation, that having their loved ones' cremated remains with them, even just temporarily, helps them go through the grieving process.
For example, if you're cremated, I've heard that people can make diamonds out of your remains, and being a piece of jewelry where they can remember you by wearing that stone. Have you experienced that kind of thing?
Absolutely. There's several different memorial options available now to families. You just mentioned one of them, the Eternal Diamond. They also have what we call art glass, which the glass has a small portion of the cremated remains inside the actual art piece for the family. So there's different memorial options. There are even, we also offer sending the cremated remains to space. Some families want their loved one, if they were Star Wars fans, we can send the cremated remains to space. So there's several different options out there.
Really? Well, that's an interesting one. That's interesting.
Yeah, and then we also have the Neptune Memorial Reef on the other coast, on the East Coast. We have the beautiful Neptune Reef. It's they call it the Lost City of Atlantis. It's a beautiful reef underwater, and it's pretty much a city that has been built underwater, and they place cremated remains in the reef, and that's actually a beautiful resource as well that families have been choosing.
Well, these are all nice options that people can look into on the internet, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And what else would you like to let the people know today?
The importance of prearranging is great, but if you don't have prearrangements in place, don't let that stop you, because we're here to help you as well any way we can. So don't hesitate to give us a call. We're here to help.
And do you send people out? In other words, if the family is in suffering and there's a group of them, do you have somebody who will go out and speak to them, or is it all done over the phone or through, I would presume, over the phone?
Well, we do have different options. So we can go out to meet families. We can do things virtually as well, by phone and email. And families can always come in person. So we have options for our families.
Okay. And is there anything else that you'd like to cover today? You can think about it.
I would like to just bring up the topic. I know there are a lot of different options for cremation out there and a lot of different companies. Our company, we do own over 1,800 locations throughout the U.S. and Canada. So as you're working with our company, 85 to 90% of the time when you prearrange with us, you will actually be cremated and handled in our own facilities. And that is a very important aspect, because it's important to families to know that how their loved one is being handled, that they are in our care and custody through the whole process. A lot of people, they do actually get third-party companies to do cremations, or they try to find the cheapest third-party company to help families. But it's very important, as you're looking to prearrange, that you're looking for someone that can assist all of your needs and cover as many variables as they can without an additional expense for the family at the time of passing, to make things easier. Most people, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to think about it. And it's something that is very easy, unless you're faced with the circumstance to have to deal with this, to just move forward through life. But this is something that is very important. A lot of people, they put their will in place. They put their trust. They get all of their finances in order. This is a part of that as well. Many people will say, well, I have a will. I've mentioned cremation or burial in my will. But the thing about a will is it is actually traditionally read long after those final arrangements have to be made and paid for. And a will is for the assets. So this is something that even attorneys, as you work through updating your will, they want you to put that in place. There are a lot of benefits to prearranging. Of course, we can always assist families that don't have arrangements in place at the time of passing. We still take the call and we will help your family. But it is so much easier to protect your family. When you prearrange, you are actually locking in the lowest price for cremation that it will ever be. It is locked in, guaranteed, and protected for your family. And it's important because right now the cost of burials and cremations are doubling in price every 6 to 8 years throughout the United States. So the sooner that you do this, the better it is for your family. And it makes it very simple. With our company, there is that one number that we provided you that families call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Our funeral directors get in motion and we take over the cremation process.
Can I ask you one thing? And it's only because why I contacted your company in the first place was that my mother and father, prior to their deaths, they chose cremation and they chose your company, and we had the information. And when they passed, we contacted your company, and it made things so much easier on the 4 children. And it alleviated a couple of things. Number one, that we had to go find out how to deal with it. And number two, that we didn't have to pay for it. Not that that was an issue, but we never had to get in that discussion. So that was a very valuable lesson that we learned. And I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yes, because when people do have that in place, they've actually made those decisions ahead of time. You actually do everything that you can legally before your passing to say that, yes, I want to be cremated. We have a self-authorization form that is a legal document that allows us to move forward with your wishes. And you actually specify what you would like to have happen with the cremated remains. Otherwise, if someone passes away, most people, they've never even talked about it if they don't have the arrangements, and families are scrambling. It's a very emotional and vulnerable time. People tend to make decisions that they normally wouldn't make. That's when they tend to get taken advantage of financially as well. Even in our own life, when we look back, we're in the business, but when we have loved ones that pass, it's a lot different as you're going through the process and trying to handle those things for them. And you do things that you normally don't do through that time.
Yeah, even as you mentioned, Ken, it is a lot easier on the family when their loved one has pre-arrangements in place. I noticed that firsthand dealing with families as a funeral director. When you show them the contract that their loved one took out, that's their wishes in place. There's been times I've met families, they don't have any pre-arrangements in place. They can't decide whether there has to be a consensus with the family. If there's not, then we have to get a court order from the state what we're going to be doing with the remains of their loved one, because everybody has to be in agreement.
Okay. I have one question about that, which was brought up to me by someone else. What happens if you're overseas traveling and you pass?
Well, with our company, we do have a travel protection plan. So if you pre-arrange with us, we can actually cover you anywhere that you pass away in the world. We actually do travel through a third-party company called Apossi, and they actually do specialize in transporting the body. So when people do have a plan with us and they have that travel protection, then we actually take care of, through Apossi, bringing the body from wherever the passing has happened back to the United States to the area of residence so that we can then fulfill the contract.
Good.
For
Thank
other
you for telling
countries,
me.
They actually do not cover and follow U.S. standards. So you don't know what kind of standards they're following. So that's where we can bring you back so that we can take the care of the cremation here in the United States.
Yeah, and that travel protection is so nice, Ken. We actually had a family a few years back. They actually left Florida to Germany. Right when they landed in Germany, her husband had passed away, pretty much right there in Germany. If they didn't have that travel and relocation protection with our company, it would have costed thousands of dollars for her to have her husband's cremated remains brought back over here. But we took care of everything at no additional cost for that family.